If you are dealing with debt, you are not alone. And in fact, a new report found household debt in this country is yet again on the rise, and Americans are finding it harder and harder to manage it. Now, before I tell you all about this new report from the New York Fed, I want to thank my paid Facts HQ subscribers for voting for this story as the bonus this week. If you want to vote on next week's bonus story, make sure you become a paid subscriber too. And if you don't want to become a paid subscriber, I highly encourage you to sign up for my free Facts HQ email. I send it out every single weeknight. It is an excellent resource, and I will email you this Fed report that I'm reporting on so you can read it for yourself. Okay, so back to this report from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. A few weeks ago, they released the fourth quarter report that looks at American household mortgages, auto loans, credit card debt, home equity lines of credit, and student loans. So this means they were looking at October, November, December of 2024. The report says, yes, all of those categories of debt saw increases, which I will break down for you individually. But the headline of the report is not that those categories of debt went up. The headline is Americans appear to be having a really hard time dealing with the debt. And here are the numbers. Home mortgage debt increased by $11 billion in the fourth quarter compared to the third quarter of 2024. That brings the total household mortgage debt to $12.6 trillion in 2024, which is $353 billion more than the fourth quarter of 2023. Student loan debt increased in the fourth quarter by $9 billion compared to the third quarter of 2024, bringing the total fourth quarter student loan debt to $1.6 trillion. That's a $14 billion increase from Q4 of 2023. Auto loan debt increased in the fourth quarter by $11 billion compared to Q3 of 2024, bringing the total amount of auto loan debt to $1.65 trillion, which is $48 billion more than Q4 of 2023. And credit card debt increased $45 billion between Q3 and Q4 of 2024, bringing the total credit card debt to $1.2 trillion. That is an $82 billion increase from 2023. And if you want to zoom out and look at the big picture, the New York Fed says in all, total household debt in the United States increased $93 billion in the fourth quarter of 2024 compared to the third quarter of 2024, bringing the total household debt in this country to more than $18 trillion, which is $553 billion more than 2023. Now, I know that all sounds like monopoly money. Most of us cannot even fathom those numbers. But the point is this. The numbers prove that the debt is increasing in all categories for lots of Americans. And we know that this debt is getting harder and harder to manage because of another set of numbers, the number of delinquencies and the length of delinquencies on those loans. The delinquency problems are glaring when it comes to auto loans and credit cards, which are the two things that most Americans have. The report found the debt that is the most delinquent by far is credit card debt, that blue line. And the report found 11.4% of credit card payments are considered seriously delinquent, which is more than 90 days without a payment. That is the highest it has been since the fourth quarter of 2011. Now, it's not the highest number we've ever seen. The highest in the last 20 years was 15 years ago in the second quarter of 2010, when the serious delinquency rate on credit cards was 13.7%. And what age group has the most seriously delinquent credit card debt? 18 to 29-year-olds, that light blue line. The second largest share was carried by 30 to 39-year-olds, and the age group with the lowest share of seriously delinquent credit card debt was 60 to 69 years old. So after credit cards, the second highest category of serious delinquencies, this gray line, is for other. That other category includes things like personal loans and those retail store credit cards. 9.2% of those were considered seriously delinquent in the fourth quarter of 2024. And then there's the third highest category of serious delinquencies, the green line, which was auto loans. In the fourth quarter of 2024, 4.8% of those were considered seriously delinquent, meaning more than 90 days without a car payment. That is very close to the highest level we've seen in 20 years. The highest was in the fourth quarter of 2010, when the number of auto loans that were considered seriously delinquent was 5.3%. So what does all this data mean? Well, first I bring it up because if you find yourself in this situation, I want you to understand you are not in that boat alone. Second, when we look at this data in total, we have to take into consideration the economic situation that we've all been facing for the last few years. The fact is, inflation is financially difficult for most Americans, and it's been stubbornly persistent since the pandemic. So folks are dealing with that, and it would explain the credit card debt and the credit card delinquencies. And when it comes to the auto loan debt, as I told you in this video a few months ago, that can specifically be traced to a pandemic supply chain issue, making those cars more expensive when they were purchased. And now, as we move into the next few months, these new Trump tariffs will again likely increase the price of cars and trucks, and that will also trickle down to car loans and possibly future delinquencies.